Hey, so the second most asked question about my car wash business is, what does it take to get a car wash back up and running? Just like I did when I found this site, there's a lot of abandoned car washes, neglected car washes that either are on their last leg or just completely shut down, and they're just garbage dumps for the local residents basically. And so I'm gonna put together this video on what it took me to get my car wash back up and running from basically, I call it a zombie car wash. The thing was dead. It had been closed for 15 years. I scrapped basically most, all the equipment, any moving parts, machinery, stuff like that. Even the vacuums behind me are secondhand that I sourced from somewhere else. And so I'm gonna go over that, plumbing, electrical, all those things. Now getting back to the first asked question about my car wash is, how much money does it make once it's open? So I've decided with the new year and everything, I am gonna open up more about what a car wash makes, show you guys the numbers and everything. But my favor, or my ask in return, is that you subscribe to the channel. So when this channel hits 10,000 subscribers, I will open up my books. We can go over profit, loss, expenses. We can count money. I'm not big into like Investment Joy or some of these other channels, counting quarters and stuff. I'm more of like I'm a hands-on construction technical guy. So with that said, I've got my paperwork. I printed out my spreadsheets on what it costs to get this car wash up and going. So let's start right here. I feel like one of the best investments I did on this car wash was these meter boxes right here. The old ones were these little tiny boxes, and I think, if I remember right, they were 8-position switches on them, which means you actually only have 7 functions because your 8th function is stop. So this is what it was in there. Just a tiny little box like that. This is the coin box on the bottom, so you really only had that much to work with. And I needed to get a credit card reader on there. I spent on these meter boxes roughly about $11,000. $10,000 for the box, about $1,000 in credit card readers. And then I spent another $2,500 to $3,000 on the masonry and the brickwork to secure it in place, because I did not want that large of an investment being mounted on the wall without some concrete to really reinforce it back in there. So one of the largest expenses. I'm just gonna let this roll. This parking lot right here, I may pull up some clips of what this, because it probably doesn't look like an awesome brand new paved parking lot right now, but when I first got it, and go back to my very first video I posted about this car wash, it's actually got hundreds of thousands of views at this point. I think it's almost past 200,000 views. Most watched video I have. This parking lot was just full of weeds. It was fenced up out front. I had to reseal and also patch a couple areas of this lot. And so crack seal, sealer, all that, $18,000. Huge expense right there. That was one of the biggest things I went into. I had it bid out to replace, and it was about $35,000 to $40,000 at that point. And I couldn't bite the bullet on that big of an expense. So I'll probably have to resell it every 2 to 3 years, which is okay. Something for you guys to keep in mind if you're looking at buying a car wash and you want to know whether it's viable to get it opened up and everything, is to check out the pits. So the pits in my car wash, they're actually not that deep. Basically what happens there is and you're not gonna be able to see super well on the camera, but down inside there's a 90-degree elbow that lets the water go in to the plumbing and out through the drain and everything. And all the silt, sand, dirt sinks to the bottom of the pit. My pit is probably 3 feet deep or whatever, but that was something that had to be completely cleaned out and fresh for start. It's also a maintenance item you have to take care of as you run your car wash. You have to clean them out over time, but it was like $3,000 labor and disposal and snaking the lines and all that to get these pits cleaned up and ready for a new run at the car wash. Exterior wise, I probably spent like $3,500, maybe $4,000 on painting, which really improved it. I probably spent another $2,000-3,000 on the concrete work. I'm just throwing out rough numbers right here, guys, and later I know the exact figure. I will tell you the exact figure that I spent on this car wash. Tally it all up at the end of the video. Right now, I guess, go down in the comments and take your guess whether it's gonna be above or below 6 figures. Above or below $100,000. We'll see who gets it right. Stay to the end of the video and I'll tell you. So as far as outside stuff, I mean, that's a lot of it. I mean, some of it's inside, some of it's outside. This, like all the lighting, right? So this is a good time to be doing this video. All this lighting, I put in brand new LED packs. The old ones were like halogen bulbs. I wanted to really brighten this place up. In fact, I'd still like to put more lighting in here for a parking lot and just to really light up the whole place. Maybe even like some LED strips along that top like ridge of the roof right there. So something I'd like to plan for in the future. That's kind of included in electrical, but just the lighting and stuff, $3,500. Let's just lead that right into electrical. So electrical in inside the equipment room, and at one point we actually had our wires stripped out of here while I was remodeling it. I'm gonna turn off this circulation pump to make it quieter in here for a minute. We had to run like a lot of new electrical, put in some new breakers, a few lights in here. This big conduit right here behind me is 480 volts. I want to make sure I'm not lying to you. I'm pretty sure it's 480. So that was a big expense total. Now I'm including that $3,500 in lighting from outside earlier. It was just over $10,000 in electrical. Plumbing. So electrical and plumbing are kind of side by side a lot of times. I spent a lot of my own time and efforts, and I know a little bit more about plumbing. So I cut this cost down a lot. What I did bring in was I bring in a plumber to do the main run, which was, he used 1.5 inches and pro pressed it and everything, made it look good. He had to put in a pump for my circulation, just some of the stuff that required specialty tools to get it in here. And so I spent $2,000 to $3,000 on that. The only item that's in this wash that you see around here that I salvaged from the old equipment that was in here is this old water heater, which is wild because it had been sitting there. Luckily it had been drained. The gas was turned off. I put gas in it and filled it with water, and the pilot lit right up. So knock on wood back there, that water heater will survive a few more years on me before I have to replace it. So those are a few things. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna cut out now, look at my paperwork, and maybe we'll go up in the attic. Okay, so I refreshed my memory a little bit. A few more things that I put some money into were this staircase right here. If you remember the original video, I had no stairs going up to this second level up here. I also had no heater. Stairs, $1,200. This heater, $600. The biggest thing, and the things that's gonna vary between washes, is what equipment do you have versus what needs replaced. Reference back to, I keep saying reference back to these old videos, but I have a video, something about I bought this car wash for $10,000. Basically, I had a network of people that knew I was getting into this car wash, trying to do my research, and he was an engineer that said, hey, looking at this project, this engineering project where they're building these apartment buildings and they're tearing down an old car wash. Well, the car wash had only been there about 12 years and it had this pump stand in it. It had this air compressor. It had this $3,000, I think it's actually more than that, $4,000 bill changer, coin changer, change machine. Had this water softener in it. It had booms for my bays, all this stuff. And I bought all that for $10,000 from this guy. If you get scrappy with this kind of stuff, you know, and a little bit gritty. If I would have had to buy all that stuff brand new, I don't know if I would have opened up this car wash. I don't know if I would have paid it. I know that like just this pump stand right here would have been like $35,000–$40,000. So it could have got a lot more expensive. It probably would have been about 50% more expensive if I would have bought all brand new stuff. But in my eyes, basically all this stuff was brand new, 10, 12 years old. And in car wash equipment, that is not bad at all. So, I'm going upstairs here, and this reverse osmosis system would have been another few $1,000s brand new. And I got that included in that $10,000 equipment package that I purchased from that guy. So now, like I said, let's go in the attic. Anyways, it's super cool to just think back to what I had when I started on this car wash. I just remember coming up here for that very first video I put out for you guys, that I didn't even know if I was going to be opening up this car wash at that time. I was just checking it out. I thought it was cool. You know, I put in a lot of hours since, and I've got this car wash opened up. So check this out. Inside of here, I built, where I kind of modified this trough, and almost all your car washes are gonna have, at least in the northern states and stuff where you get freezing temperatures, you're gonna have a trough where all your lines run through to your bays. So if you have good space, I envy the car washers that you can literally stand up in these attics and walk down here and maintain your lines and make sure you don't have any freezing. But I did a really good job. These weren't as wide as I would have liked them, but I just kept them because they were already here. But I put all my hoses down in here, as you can see, and this blue hose that runs down each side. So see this hose right here, and then it runs down the other side as well, is a circulation hose that keeps that whole trough warm. So it has like the fluid that runs through it is pre-soak, and it's 90 degrees all the time, and it just circulates. It runs all the way down to the end, and then it comes all the way back down into the equipment room, back to the pump, comes back around, and just keeps that warm. And then I've got insulation sitting on top of it that keeps that warmth in there and everything. So back to the topic of the video though, I spent probably more than you'd think on hosing and tubes, and it's hard to tally up because I had so many trips to the hose supplier. They're a big supplier. They do a lot of fittings and stuff. And by the time I got everything plumbed in and done, I probably spent $3,000 to $4,000 just on hoses and fittings, and a lot of Teflon tape. I Tefloned and doped all my fittings. I didn't want to have any leaks. That's my biggest pet peeve of a lot of car washes, that just leak all over, around the handles and stuff. And that's just materials. I ran all this stuff. I framed up these little boxes where they drop down into the bays. If you want to look at that a little bit closer, it's kind of cool. But from a technical aspect, there's even a little solenoid in here that sends that pre-soak down into the bay. It would have been a few $1,000s just in labor to get this, just these hoses ran and plumbed in and everything. And so I saved myself a lot of money there. And if you're gonna open up a car wash, you've gotta do some of that stuff that maybe might just be a little more labor intensive, but you can do yourself, and you're gonna save yourself. I mean, going rate on labor for anybody that knows what they're doing with the car wash is, at least $100 an hour in my market. I'm sure most markets. And most of your plumbers, electricians are at least that. So whenever you can, you got to do what you can. So got that all put back together. But I'm looking forward to see what more questions you guys have. Doing as many videos as I can to answer what's going on. So drum roll for the final tally on the cost to get this car wash up and going. It's about $102,000. So it was over 6 figures to open up this car wash. Main expenses on there, just as a review: asphalt, electrical, equipment package, supplies, security cameras. So all that stuff. So if you guys want to open up a car wash, there's no set figure. I mean, it's not gonna cost you guys $102,000. It could cost you more, could cost you less. I'm open to talk with anybody that might be looking at a car wash and doesn't know what they're gonna ultimately spend on it to get it open. So that's just my experience. It's been fun, and I'm glad I did it with the new year and everything, just talking about like goals and stuff. And I listened to a podcast earlier that was, you know, saying something along the lines of most people regret what they didn't do in life, not what they did do and failed at. So I'm glad I did it, and it's going well. We're just gearing up for probably another busy season. It's like starting January, getting a lot more snow, a lot more salt on the roads, and then it's gonna warm up, and all that salt and snow is gonna turn to mud and be awesome for car washing weather. So I'm looking forward to sharing those numbers with you guys on what my car wash is making when we hit 10,000 subscribers. Until then, we'll see you in some more videos.